Hey kids, and welcome to Worth the Spin. I'm your host, this Jack. Alright, today we're going to talk about one of my favorite artists. Though I admit, I'm not a huge fan of all of his body of work. He does have a lot of albums, and a lot of them have a couple songs here and a few songs there and stuff that I really enjoy. So I have the CD of an anthology thing, and it has all the really best stuff, to be honest with you, that I like the most on that CD. But I do have two of his vinyls in my collection because they are my two favorites of his. And I like to have my favorites on vinyl because that's how I prefer to listen to them. So I'm going to introduce to you today Mr. Long John Baldry. And this is his album, It Ain't Easy. And this is probably, I'm thinking offhand, trying to remember, maybe his 8th studio album, maybe. Trying to keep them in order. It's kind of hard because I don't listen to the others a whole lot. I had them and they were basically just kind of became fillers, you know, and I got to a point to where I'm not just going to keep stuff for one or two songs because I'm never going to really go through trouble to drop the needle on one or two songs. I'm kind of wanting to listen to the whole album, or at least the whole side, you know. So I moved them along to homes that somebody will hopefully enjoy them more than I have. And I do have the anthology CD thing, like I said. So it has lots of great stuff on there that was on some of those other albums. So we're going to talk about this first one of the two that I own today. And this is a repressing from late 71, mid 72. But it doesn't make it any less awesome. That's the front cover, what you've seen. Here's the back cover for you. So one of these fellers, here's a couple people who worked on this album. And this album was produced by one of these artists on one side, side A, and on side B it was produced by another artist. And both of those artists not only helped produce this album, they did some backing vocals on stuff on here. So it was really cool. And at the time, they were just making their way into becoming bigger stars in the musical world. But when they met Long John, they weren't very popular at all. They were just getting their start too and stuff. Long John was got the nickname just John Baldry. He got the name of Long John because he was 6 foot 7 inches tall, something in that area. So he overshadowed most of the people that he worked with. So they all just called him Long John. One of these artists you might know. He's done a couple of records out there. His name is Rod Stewart. The other one you may not know as well. His name is Elton Dean, and he did change his name a little bit later, and you might know that as, going to guess? You're right, Elton John. So this is the backside. And these guys were friends before they all made it into big mainstream musicians, which is really cool. That's the cover, and we do have an insert here for it. And it's just kind of standard Warner Brothers, you know, insert thingy. Because like I said, this is a reissue, so I don't have the original. So there's nothing exciting there to talk about that. Just so you know, in case we forget going down the road as we're chit-chatting here. Is this worth the spin? It is worth the spin. This is certainly an album that I would say, especially if you're more of a blues fan, to seek out. It's not going to cost you a lot of money. And kind of depending on what you want to believe here, it's either going to cost you $12.99 or $17 and some change, or I think I got it for like $10. So, you know, it's in that area. Either way, it's worth it. I think an original pressing is not really that much more. The original pressing of this is on Warner Brothers. It was the dark green, kind of, I guess you call it olive label they were using back then, which they phased out, I think late in 71, early 72, somewhere in that area. So that's why this one here is a repress, side A. And we're going to flip it over to the Elton Dean side. That's side B. Alrighty. So that's pretty cool. Like I said, these guys were friends before. They made it famous, and it was cool that they came back and helped produce this album for him. This is probably his biggest selling album, and it all started with the first song on here, which got a lot of airplay in the U.S. back in the day, which is called "Don't Lay No Boogie Woogie on the King of Rock and Roll." Maybe you guys have heard that and you not recognize this artist, or who knew who that song was from. It used to be one here in my state. It was from a radio station, and they're KC Classics, one of those things that they would play on select songs on it was like a Sunday, I think. It did it for years. It's something that's been way gone by now, but they would do it, I think it was on a Sunday, and they had the KC Classic, and they would play a song like this that was the biggest song off the album, and not one that sold a whole ton, but you heard a lot of airplay of it. So this was from that category. So Long John was born in 1941, and he passed away in 2005, I believe. In his early heyday, he was one of the first British museums to do blues music in clubs and stuff. Back in the early late 50s and early 60s, not a lot of people did blues music, or what they would call, the term back then was Negro music, in clubs and bars. So he was one of the few to start doing it, and his performance of it really made an impact, and it kind of broke that whole thing open. And the next thing you know, lots of different blues artists or white singers were doing those kind of tracks, which is really cool. Like I said, before he was famous, he knew those two fellers he might have heard of. He's also worked with, he had a band, so he did a band in early 60s called, he was in it, it wasn't his band, he was in it, it's called Alex Conar's Blues Incorporated. That was the name of it. And that featured Mick Jagger, Jack Bruce, and Charlie Watts. So you might know those fellas too. So that was back in the early heydays before they were also big names out there on the market. He became friends with Paul McCartney in the early 60s, early like 1960, 61, something in that area. And that led to a little bit later on Paul saying, hey, we want to open this in particular show up with a friend of ours, and they had this show that was on. It was Around the Beatles, a TV special called Around the Beatles. It was on, I think, every Saturday in the UK, and they let him let him open one of those shows one week, which was really cool. Unfortunately, that's the pivotal of his Beatle involvement, but it would have been cool to see him play more with the Beatles. That would have been pretty nice, but it was kind of a exclusive club to get into there. All right, so some of the tracks that's on here, I'll give you a little rundown of the track listing. See if you know any of these songs. I bet some of these songs, some of you have been listening to this kind of music for a long time, might have heard of, but you just never knew exactly who it was from. So on the Elton John side, we have Black Girl, Don't Lay No Boogie Woogie on the King of Rock and Roll, It Ain't Easy, Morning Morning, I'm Ready, and that's side A. Side B, we had Let's Burn Down the Cornfield, Mr. Rubin, Rock Me When He's Gone, Fly and Flying. So that is the contents of this album, and this was a big album for him. I think part of the fact that having Rod Stewart and Elton John help produce it and be on it highlighted it a little bit more. So, and that in one in particular song, like I said, was so big and when it came out, and it carried him over into the U.S. and helped get him into the U.S., where a lot of his music beforehand never really made it into the U.S. So there's a lot of contributing factors there that helped for this album to be such a success. It made it into the top 100. I do not remember. I should have researched it. I don't remember where the position finally was on for it, but was in the top 100, which is something that was hard for a British act to maintain back in the 70s, as most of the British acts were kind of working their way out of the music industry, sorta, in a way, back then. He had, like I said, he has two albums that are my favorites. The other one came out in 72, and there was some involvement with these other guys on that album too, but we'll talk about that one at another time. So this is a really good, starts out really good. Is Don't Lay No Boogie Woogie has this little spiel that he gives on stage before he does the song, and it leads right into the song, and it's really, really cool. It's about playing guitar on a street corner and collecting pennies, and a policeman comes up and arrests him, and this is the story that the officer gives when he brings him to court to have him charged with leniency or vagrancy or in breaching the peace, they say. So it's pretty cool. So if you haven't listened to this album, if you've not heard of this artist and you haven't listened to this album, I highly suggest that you do. It's certainly worth the spin. It's certainly an album I think that's worth owning. I do have, again, there's the anthology type CD, which I should have got, that has this album, has the contents of this album and of the other album from 72 on there, plus some outtakes and unused songs, stuff of that nature. So it's really good. It's a really hard one to get. It was like an Amazon exclusive, and I picked it up off of Amazon when it showed up on there, like, I'm going to say good 15 years ago maybe. It showed up on there, and it was like an Amazon exclusive type thing for some reason. And it was a bit expensive, and I bought it right away because I love these two albums, and then I wanted to have them on the CD version of it because it had all the extra bonus stuff. And these albums don't have any bonus stuff. They're just the regular albums that came out. And there's never been a repress of these other than the this one in the early 70s, late 71, early 72, when the second album that I'm going to talk about at some point came out. We're talking about this one because I did the old just pull something out of the record collection thing, and we'll see what we get. And this is what we got. So that's why we're talking about that today. So eventually the fingers will pull out the other one from 72. We'll talk about that. Or maybe I'll just pull it out. We'll talk about that. Why not? It's a fantastic album. A lot of great blues music on it. It's got rock music on it. And to me, this album doesn't sound dated. Sometimes you listen to some stuff from 60s and 70s, even the 80s, and it kind of sounds a little bit dated. You know, there was just the way music was done in a certain period, and most bands had a format, and that's kind of the format they stuck with. And I think that's one of the reasons, I know it's one of the reasons, like the Beatles are as popular as they are, because they didn't stick with that format. They didn't sound the same through their entire career. They were always amping it up, trying to sound different and do different stuff. Long John was the same way. He was innovative. He did a lot of blues, so you still got your blues music in there, but it's just the way he performed it that made it different. So it kind of opened it up a little bit more. Not all of his albums, again, like I said, are fantastic albums, are great albums, or even ones that right now to this day I would sit down and listen to the entire catalog all the way through. Sometimes I'll pick an artist out, and like yesterday was AC/DC Day. I just pulled out all my AC/DCs and just listen through it for AC/DC all day. So sometimes I'll do that, and that's a rare thing, and it's only happening at the moment because I have some extra time on my hands. Styx would say too much time on my hands, and I agree with that one. But for the moment, that's where we're at. So I'm hoping to catch up on some of these videos. I know I was going to try to do a every Wednesday thing, and that was because I was off on Wednesdays, and I'm not off on Wednesdays anymore. I now work Wednesdays, except for this Wednesday and next Wednesday, and I think the Wednesday after that. That's a long story we're not going to tell. Anyhow, this is a great album. It's Long John Baldry again. It ain't easy. Again, it's one of those that I would like to be able to play samples of. That was always my vision, was to play samples of an album and say, and I can get away with maybe 3 seconds of a song, but you're not going to get much out of that. So unless I pay a fee to YouTube and some people who are very, very well off than I am, I'm unable to do that. But let's not get on that soapbox again. We put that soapbox away. Let's not get on it again. So, great album. It's worth the spin. So I hope you'll go out and check this album out, or do what a lot of you do. Do a digital download. That's okay. As long as you give this thing a chance. This and the one after it. And the one after is called Everything Stops for Tea. I'll tell you the title so you don't have to do the legwork and looking it up. In case you like this one, you say, wow, I want to hear that other one. They don't sound so much similar, but they have the same flow to them. Great albums, both of them. Highly recommend both of them. This one more. This is my favorite one. This is a great album. So if you can get this one on vinyl, I would get it. It's not hard to find. I see it quite a bit. Yeah, but I've never seen it at like $1 or $2 price. But that's in my state, so mileage may vary by your state. And a lot of states have a whole lot better record stores than what I have. I can tell you that for sure. So, Long John Baldry, It Ain't Easy, featuring Elton John and Rod Stewart as producers, and like I said, backing vocals. They did some backing vocals on there. They did a great job. They don't make themselves like, hey, we're bigger than Long John and forefront of the whole thing. This is about us. Like, This is just an even deal between the three of us, and that's really cool. Good blues music, good rock music. Overall, great album. I think this is a fantastic listen. So if you get a chance, look it up and give it a try. Alrighty. So I'm going to go for now, and I'm going to start on my next video. That's right. I'm going to try to do more than one today. I don't know if I'll get the other one out there. I'll wait a few days just in case I don't get anything else done. But yeah, I've got the time, so let's take advantage of that and get a few things done. So if you like this video, and I hope you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe, and you know when I do decide to put one up. And that's whenever I basically can get myself motivated and find a time to do it. And a lot of these, I'm not going to lie, a lot of these, you've seen the production values here. You know, these I can do one of these in 20 minutes. Usually somebody can do it in 20 minutes and it's done. It's like, it's good enough. I'll rewatch it a little bit and go, yep. Didn't say, too much. Or didn't have a blank stare. So it's pretty good. And I'll put it out there. So I hope you guys, again, hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up. Comment if you like. I don't love to reply to comments. Kind comments, that is. And yeah, check this album out. Go if you happen to be at a local record store, look for this. More than likely, they probably have it. And it's worth it. It is worth the spend. It's worth picking up. So I hope you will enjoy it. Let me know if you do. And until then, I'll see you next time. Again, fill your life with music. Our lives should be a soundtrack. Maybe not as dramatic as the soundtracks, the movies that we see, but you know, our lives should contain a soundtrack. It should be a good soundtrack that we enjoy. Be kind to one another. Just not enough kindness out there. I have to point that out again, I'm afraid. And try to love one another. It's not that hard to do. You do your thing. I do my thing. They do their thing. That's good enough. That's all we really need to do. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy this album. Hope you'll give it a chance and check it out. Until then, I'll see you next time with another exciting album review. Take care.